There's somewhere in the vicinity of about 550 people right here in church right now, and there's somewhere in the vicinity of 250 people in the parish hall. And it's nice that everyone has a seat. When I first came here and people were out the doors, I say, this is no way to go to church. We need to sit down, relax. The pastor has this 45-minute homily to give. I'm sure, I hope I'm sure, that we all know or have heard and hopefully even sung a Christmas song entitled, "Do You Hear What I Hear?" You know that song? Let's sing it, do you? No. You know, many people assume that this Christmas song has been around for a long, long time. And they might even assume that it comes from European origins. But you would be mistaken, Grasshopper. It was written in 1962. Now, for those of you who are 10 years old, you say, that's a long time ago. But it ain't that long, huh? It was written in 1962, and if you don't understand some of the things I'm saying, and I'm talking to the younger crowd right now, not during Mass, but after Mass, you can go and Google this. It happened during the Cuban Missile Crisis between the United States and Cuba. And the song was really a powerful plea for peace by a man, the man who wrote it, who had experienced the horrors of the Second World War that really haunted him during his life. The name of the man he's deceased now, Noel Regney, from France in Europe. After experiencing the Second World War, he later worked in France for a little while as a music director. And in 1952, he moved to New York City. And at that time, when he moved in, he was doing composing of music for many of the early TV shows and for their commercial jingles. And he also did some serious musical compositions. And in the late 50s, he married a pianist. Her name, Gloria Shane. They married after knowing each other just for a few weeks. How about that? Well, Gloria went on to produce and to write some songs that were very popular in the day and sung by some well-known singers. And now, kids, bear with this old man. One of the songs was "Goodbye, Cruel World." Some of the older people remember it, recorded by James Darren in his day. Another one was, and when I researched this, I said, I remember this one. "The Men in My Little Girl's Life," that was recorded at the time by Mike Douglas. Some people remember that? Some of you do. Well, the daughter of these parents said of them, my mother's work tended to be more popular. My father's work was more classical and avant-garde. She said that when her parents collaborated on music, usually the mother would write the words and the father wrote the music. But in the song, "Do You Hear What I Hear?" It was completely the opposite. And here's how it came to be. As I said, in October of '62, the Soviet Union, the United States were involved in a crisis centered on missiles being installed in Cuba. And if you don't know where Cuba is, that's a few miles south of Florida, by the Russians, the Soviet Union. And the United States, it was JFK at the time, President Kennedy, he threatened military action if the missiles were not removed. And it was a very tense time. We were really on the brink of war as two powerhouse nations stood eyeball to eyeball. That October, as Noel Regney was walking through the streets of New York City, he sensed despair in the air. He said, "No one smiled." Mr. Riggi, who had endured the horrors of war, knew the fear and terror personally, and he could sense that in his fellow citizens. The safe and secure life that he had built for himself in the United States was being threatened. Christmas, he said, and rightfully so, Christmas is supposed to be a time of peace and goodwill. It was coming. And coincidentally, Noel Regney had been asked by a record producer to write a holiday song. Says Noel Regney, "On my way home, I saw two mothers with their babies in strollers. The little angels were looking at each other and smiling. And all of a sudden, my mood changed. I became more upbeat." Says Noel Regney, "The glimpse of these babies reminded me of newborn infants. And thus began the song, said the night wind to the little lamb." And when he arrived home, he jotted down the lyrics. And then he asked his wife, Gloria, to write the music. We've heard this song, and when you hear it again, you might have a little different perspective. There's hundreds, at least 100 versions or more, of "Do You Hear What I Hear?" But Noel Regney's favorite recording was done by Robert Goulet. These are, I can see the young people saying, "Who is he talking about? This is not Lizzo or whoever it is." But he said he liked Robert Goulet because when he got to one part, he nearly shouted it out. "Pray for peace, people everywhere." And this song became popular because of another singer of the day, Bing Crosby, who recorded it in '63. "Do You Hear What I Hear?" carries a wonderful message close to people of all walks of life. It became a popular carol, a song high above the trees, with voices as big as the sea. But interestingly, the message of peace was lost on most people. Said Noel Regney, "I'm amazed that people can think they know the song and not know that it is a prayer for peace. Said Noel Regney to an interviewer as he continued, "We are so bombarded by sounds, and our attention spans are so short. Maybe this Christmas we can hope and pray that when we sing these songs in church, when we sing, 'Do you hear what I hear?' it will indeed remind us the child sleeping in the night came to bring goodness and light. The child sleeping in the night came to bring goodness and light." We say Merry Christmas to people, as we should. But there's a prayer behind it all. And we pray that the Prince of Peace, Jesus, will bring peace to our lives, to those around us, to our world. And that we too will bring goodness and light to those around us. And not just receive it, but share it. To share goodness and light and the peace of Christ with one another, with others, day after day after day. Quite frankly, my friends, we live in a world that needs to know Christ. Christ the light, Christ the Lord of goodness, Christ the Lord of mercy, Christ the Lord of love for us as we are today and every day. May we be the bearers of that good news. May we be the people who share that and live it with one another.